My name is Michael Corrado. I'm a local resident, a labor activist, and a Union General Chairperson with Transportation District 140 of the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers. Professionally, I deal with about a dozen companies at any given time in the airline industry. I'll make a few brief comments followed by a very important question. Last year's AGM, I spoke about the level of unaffordability that most workers at this airport face, along with the need for a Toronto Pearson living wage type ordinance, much like other airports across North America do have. I presented Ms. Flint with the living wage petition that garnered around 6,500 signatories in the month leading up to that AGM. The petition was taken to the mayors of Mississauga, Brampton, and Toronto for their support, as these are the main outlying communities where we want our airport ambassadors the ability to afford to live. Shortly after last year's AGM, the then Mayor of Mississauga, Bonnie Crombie, and her staff did meet with myself and my colleague to discuss and review the petition and the reasons behind it. I must say that Ms. Crombie was understanding and supportive of the Living Wage Initiative. Unfortunately, the mayors of Brampton and Toronto, Patrick Brown and Olivia Chow, have ignored our requests, even though a large number of airport workers are their constituents. Nevertheless, about a month after last year's AGM, the GTA issued its newest set of airport rules and regulations. They are rightly titled the Pearson Standard. Part 2 of the Pearson Standard sets forth minimum standards and requirements. It contains a much needed employment standard section, and thankfully contains living wage language which states, airport users are expected to ensure that their employees have access to a safe working environment and earn a fair wage that allows them to afford adequate shelter, food, and other necessities. Regrettably, a significant number of employers at Toronto Pearson are not living up to these binding obligations and expectations. Instead, they continue to pay workers wages that are at or near minimum wage. This does not allow workers to afford adequate shelter, never mind food and other necessities. As I stand before you here today, workers at Toronto Pearson have gathered at Terminal 1 to celebrate International Workers' Day and to draw attention to the Pearson Standard, its obligations and its expectations. This airport is undergoing many, many rounds of collective bargaining over the next year with a multitude of different unions. We are already seeing the tip of the iceberg with workers electing to go on strike or threatening to go on strike to combat the cost of living crisis. My question to the GTAA is, if the Pearson Standard contains binding obligations whereby airport users are expected to be bound by the obligations and commit to fully complying with the sections that apply to them, then what, if anything, is the Greater Toronto Airport Authority doing to enforce these expectations to ensure that airport workers earn a fair wage that allows them to afford adequate shelter, food, and other necessities? I graciously thank you for your time and allowing me to speak today, and look forward to your response. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. One thing to clarify is the Pearson Standard is about a service delivery accountability. We do not have the jurisdiction at GTAA to establish wage and labor mandates, so it does not extend to what you are asking or suggesting. Michael, you know that we take the well-being and our workers very seriously. You have met with myself as well as with a number of my team members. We've talked about a government relations strategy to continue to lift up your request around living wage and wage ordinances, and we'll continue to work with you as well as with our government organizations at all different levels to continue to work on solutions to provide economics that are supportive of workers and that make sense in the macroeconomic scheme. Thank you for your question and being here again.
Thank you.